feeling empty even when life looks fine. This is why feeling empty can be one of the most confusing emotional states to live with. On the surface, everything checks out. You're functioning, you're showing up, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Maybe you even have the things you once wished for. And yet, underneath all of that, there's a quiet hollowness you can't explain. Not sadness exactly, not anger, just nothing. A dull, persistent absence where something meaningful should be. If this resonates, hear this first. You're not broken. Emptiness is not a personality flaw, a lack of gratitude, or proof that something is wrong with you. It's not a failure to be positive enough, or mindful enough, or productive enough. Emptiness is often the result of a mind that has been in survival mode for too long. And when survival finally becomes unnecessary, the emotional bill comes due. Most people who feel empty aren't careless or selfish or emotionally shallow. They're the opposite. They care deeply, too deeply sometimes. They give more than they receive. They hold things together. They become reliable, strong, the one people lean on. And over time, they learn that being needed feels safer than being felt. So they adapt. They learn to stay busy, to be useful, to stay composed. They learn how to function even when they're exhausted inside. They learn how to smile through overwhelm and downplay their own needs. They learn how to survive, but not how to rest emotionally. And that's where emptiness begins. When you spend years prioritizing everyone else's needs, your own inner world slowly goes quiet. You stop checking in with yourself. You stop asking what you feel because it's easier not to. Feelings take time. Feelings require space. And when life is demanding, feelings feel like a luxury you can't afford. So instead, you focus on what's practical, what's urgent, what keeps things moving. This works until it doesn't, because the nervous system can only stay in do mode for so long. Eventually, the chaos settles, the crisis passes, the schedule slows down, and when the noise finally fades, you're left alone with yourself for the first time in a long while. That's when the emptiness shows up. Not because something went wrong, but because something finally got quiet enough to be noticed. Emptiness often appears when your life becomes externally stable, but internally disconnected. When there's no immediate fire to put out, your mind stops running, and suddenly you feel the absence of emotional nourishment, the absence of genuine connection, the absence of being seen, not just needed. This is why emptiness can show up during times that are supposed to be good. After achieving a goal, after settling into a routine, after escaping a stressful period. You think you should feel relieved or happy, but instead you feel flat. And that disconnect can be deeply unsettling. Here's the truth most people talk about. Emptiness is not the lack of happiness. It's the lack of authenticity. It's what happens when you've been living in alignment with expectations instead of emotions. When your life makes sense logically, but not emotionally. When you've learned to override your inner signals to keep functioning. People who feel empty often learned early on that their feelings were inconvenient. Maybe they grew up in environments where emotional expression wasn't welcomed. Maybe they were praised for being easy, strong, or mature. Maybe they had to grow up fast. Or maybe they learned that being calm and capable was how they earned love. So they internalized a message: don't need too much, don't feel too much, don't ask for too much. Over time, that message becomes a habit, a way of being. You stop reaching out. You stop sharing what's really going on. You tell yourself you're fine because technically you are, and on paper, nothing is wrong. But your emotional system doesn't run on logic. It runs on connection. Humans are wired to feel known, to feel mirrored, to feel emotionally met. When that doesn't happen consistently, the nervous system doesn't panic. It numbs, and numbness feels like emptiness. This is why distraction doesn't fix it. Scrolling, working, staying busy, consuming content, even self-improvement can become another form of avoidance if it's used to escape rather than connect. Distraction fills time, not meaning. It keeps your mind occupied, but it doesn't feed your emotional core. That's why emptiness often comes back stronger once the distraction ends. What you're feeling isn't a sign that you need more stimulation. It's a sign that you need more connection with others, yes, but also with yourself. Connection doesn't always mean deep conversations or dramatic breakthroughs. Sometimes it starts much smaller. It starts with noticing what you actually feel instead of what you think you should feel. It starts with letting yourself be honest in safe spaces. It starts with resting without guilt, with allowing boredom, with allowing emotions to surface without immediately trying to fix or explain them away. Emptiness is your system asking for permission to feel again. And feeling can be uncomfortable at first, because when you've been numb for a long time, emotions come back slowly and not always pleasantly. You might feel sadness you didn't know you were carrying, grief for parts of yourself you ignored, anger you never expressed, loneliness you minimized. This doesn't mean you're regressing. It means you're thawing. Healing doesn't always look like happiness at the beginning. Sometimes it looks like awareness. Sometimes it looks like discomfort. Sometimes it looks like sitting with yourself without trying to perform or produce or please. And that can feel scary for people who built their identity around being functional. But here's the shift that changes everything. Emptiness isn't your enemy. It's information. It's telling you that you've outgrown survival mode, that your nervous system no longer needs to stay on high alert, that there's now space for something deeper, but that space hasn't been filled yet. You don't need to shame yourself for feeling this way. You don't need to force gratitude or positivity, and you don't need to rush to fix it. You need to listen. Ask yourself gently, where have I been holding back emotionally? Where have I been showing up for everyone but myself? Where have I been choosing comfort over honesty? Where have I been surviving instead of living? The answers won't come all at once, but they will come if you slow down enough to hear them. Connection heals emptiness, not surface-level interaction, but emotional presence, being real with someone you trust, letting yourself be seen without performing, reconnecting with things that make you feel alive rather than productive, giving yourself permission to want more than fine. You don't need a new personality or a dramatic life change. You need space to exist as a human, not just a role. So if you're feeling empty, don't panic. Don't label yourself as ungrateful or broken or lost. See it for what it is, a signal that you've been strong for too long without being supported, a signal that you've been giving without receiving, a signal that it's time to reconnect, not distract. And that's not weakness, that's self-awareness. Follow for more psychology truths that help you understand yourself, not judge yourself.